If you're an ambitious developer, you've 100% looked at yourself in a mirror and thought to yourself, I should be way further ahead than I am right now. And if that's you, then this video is exactly for you. So welcome, this is I believe day 24 of me building a $1 billion business in public. Without further ado, let's get straight into the video. As always, we're going to start off with basic YouTube Q&A where I answer your guys' question in a form of YouTube comments. So if you have a question for me, drop it down in the comments below. Then we're going to get into the topic of today's video. And last but not least, we're going to do a little bit of strategizing with regards to this daily channel. For those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Bago and this is my second YouTube channel, my daily channel. A little about myself, I wrote my first line of code back when I was in robotics. 2016 and 2017 we won the Los Angeles Regional Championship. From then on I went to UCLA to study human consciousness, part of the Elegant Mind Club. From then on I went to NASA as a computer engineer. From then on I went to the private sector, which is essentially Fortune 500 as a software engineering consultant. Consulted for these companies, plus 17 more. I went from junior to manager in 3 years, then left to found AB Analytics, which is currently what I run to this day. In terms of our goal of $1 billion, we are 990 million short. So our firm is very close to doing about 10 million by the end of the year in annually recurring revenue. Revenue meaning this is not what I take home. Just want to be honest about that. Of course, I skipped a lot of wins, even more losses. If you want to learn more about that, more about Code to CEO, what I'm doing here and now, you can check out some of my earlier videos or just go to my personal website, about.codetoceo.com. It'll be in the link in the description below too. Without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So first and foremost, let me refresh the page to make sure we got all the comments. Perfect. So VSP asks, how important is the ability to stay calm and positive on a journey while fighting against the constant roadblocks along the way? Was every rejection, failure, an opportunity to build courage despite the outcome? Extremely important, the most important. Persistence is the most important thing. Okay, there isn't anything that's more important than persistence. And the reason I say that is, like, oh, it's double checking OBS is recording. Perfect. The reason I say that is as follows. So many people attribute success to luck, right? But all luck really is a set of probabilities. If I told you that there's a guaranteed lottery ticket, that if you buy it, you can win $1 billion, guess what? You're gonna use every single amount of money that you have. You're gonna sell everything you own. You're gonna try to go into debt. You're gonna somehow find at least, right, $999 million for the chance to win that guaranteed $1 billion. So if you knew something was guaranteed, you would do absolutely everything in your power to get it, okay? Probability works in the same exact way, except in reality, there's no guaranteed way to win this lottery ticket, right? All you really can do is roll a die. And instead of a 6-sided die with a lottery ticket, it's millions of billion-sided die. Okay, so you have to throw it way too many times to actually win it, so it's not possible. However, when it comes to success, with regards to, say, a business success, to things like that, the probability is much more in your favor. So where does persistence come into play here? Well, let's see. Me starting the business, me doing cold outreach, me getting clients, me closing them, people can attribute that to luck. And I'll say, okay, have it your way. I got lucky. But guess what? I gave myself enough chances. I rolled the die enough times to get lucky. That's where persistence comes into play. So some people get into entrepreneurship within their first year, they hit the jackpot. They roll a die, they instantly land a 6. My journey wasn't like that. I went, landed a 1, failure. Guess what? I could have stopped there and said I didn't get lucky, right? But guess what? I rolled again. Next time I landed a 2, a little bit better. Still didn't give up, persisted, rolled again, another 1, and again, 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 until I finally landed a 6. And this journey is dynamic because you gain skills, you gain more knowledge, you gain more wisdom, you can become better and better at what it is that you do. So the chances of you landing a 6 always becomes higher and higher. It is never 100%, but give it enough tries, right? You will get that 6 down the line. If you have a 1 in 6 chance each time, you roll it enough times, you will get there, okay? You think of it as taking it to the limit. If you take a limit, we're going to get into math here, but that's exactly how it is. So another way to explain it is, think of it as if, let's say this is your goal, right? If you take a limit of something, right, it goes like this. It never actually touches the x-axis, but it gets as close to it as humanly possible. That's exactly what this is like. You want to roll as many times as possible. And that's really where the persistence comes into play. So being able to stay calm and positive is, in my opinion, one of the most important things, because everybody's going to have this. Look, for me, it took a lot of failures. Other people, it takes them maybe just 2 tries before they hit it lucky. Some people, they go 50 tries, 60 tries, and then they say it's not for me, and then they complete. Not knowing, they fail, excuse me, not knowing that they were a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 tries away from actual success, right? But it's also really important for you to learn from your mistakes. So for all of that, you need the actual mental clarity to be able to stay calm and positive on the journey, to know that it will work out at the end of the day, as long as you keep rolling the die enough times. And oftentimes when it gets hard for me, all I remember is this. I know, just keep rolling. 1 more day, roll the die for 1 more day. And every day I tell myself, 1 more day, 1 more day, 1 more day. These videos are a great example. I barely have enough time to fit this in, but I still do them because I know I'm rolling a die each time with a new video. So hopefully that made sense. Thank you for the question, VSP. Okay, let's get into the topic of today's video, which is how to become the most valuable dev in any room. Now, I remember back in my developer days, any group project I was a part of, or even when I was working in the corporate 9 to 5, I was extremely competitive. I wanted to be the best developer anywhere I was. I wanted to be that guy. Whenever we go on stand-up calls, whenever everybody meets me or something, they're like, oh, wow, it's that guy. He's able to do this, this, and this. So I always looked in the mirror and I always thought to myself, I should be way further ahead than I am now, right? And you can call it imposter syndrome, you can call it whatever you want, but there came a day where I was actually able to do that. There came a day when I remember I got promoted to manager and I was managing people that were 2 times older than me, and yet they were answering to me. And I remember thinking, wow, they're coming to me for some of the questions too, like even technical questions that they probably knew better than me, but they still asked me, even though deep inside, like mentally, they thought that I was better than them. Funny how that worked. But nevertheless, it got to the point where I was able to become the most valuable dev in any room that I was walking into. And not from a technical standpoint, but in terms of the value I can create, right? The value I can bring people. And I realized the most fundamental thing that really changed that about me, right? That really allowed me to be able to do that, that really allowed me to think that way, was the skill I call business translation. This is essentially at its core how well I can connect the technical to the non-technical. Essentially, if I'm taking in requirements from non-technical people to build something technical out, how well I can articulate that and how well I can understand these requirements, and vice versa, how well I can articulate the, let's say, functionality of the tag or the purpose of the tag to non-technical individuals, I can explain the tag. That as well played a very big role. So especially if I can have this cycle running as smooth as possible with no friction whatsoever, that's how you become the most valuable dev. I guarantee you, in your guys' own firms, pay attention to the most valuable person. It's probably the individual that can do this best. He's good with the technical folks, he's good with the non-technical folks, he can understand both sides, and he's extremely adept at running the circle type of thing, right? Running this wheel. It's lubricated, so to say. There's no friction whatsoever. It keeps spinning and spinning. And the one thing that really helped me with this was actually talking to the other side. I realized that most often than not, whenever I had any type of problems with regards to these guys, right, whether I'm taking technical requirements or I'm trying to explain it, most of the issues stemmed from the fact that I didn't even know who I was talking to, right? It felt like they were just a different set of individuals. I thought, we were sort of alienated for some reason. I thought they were, okay, they're just regular people. They have no clue what we're doing, and I'm not even going to bother explaining to them because they're not going to understand it. I have to somehow do it this way, that way, all this mumbo jumbo. But one day I decided, okay, let me just sit down, talk to the individuals, see who they are, how they think. Maybe if I understand how they think, I'll know what they're looking for, and maybe I can tailor my language to them such that I can help them understand it. Because technically speaking, the more responsible one has to be the technical person, because the technical person is the one that's going to create the solution, right? And without the solution, none of this can exist. So if the product / the solution, the creator of that needs to be able to understand everything flowing in and also flowing out. And that's exactly what I did. I started talking to the non-technical individuals, getting to know them better. At my own firm, I spent a lot of time talking to my managers, talking to the salespeople, going on the sales calls, watching the recordings of the sales calls to just understand the lingo and to understand what people were primarily looking for. What business outcomes were they looking for? The client calls, before I started working with any client, I asked to see the sales calls with them, to see what they wanted, to see what they cared about, to see what their primary objection was. And even though I was a software engineer, I didn't need to know these things. Knowing these things ahead of time gave me a lot of clarity into what that specific team, what that specific individual, what the stakeholder was looking for from me, okay? Because if I knew from the sales call that I could already get like a premonition that they misunderstood the technology, or they don't quite understand how complex this ask is, or they don't quite understand how this thing works, I already knew ahead of time, okay, I can document a little bit better. I can maybe create a separate slide for them. I can have an extra training session for them on that. I can explain it on the calls better. I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. I had an entire strategy for it, right? And I was able to communicate clearly. And I knew when let's say they gave me an arbitrary ask or something very difficult, I could negotiate properly and I could control the scope creep and all these things. And this was true for my 9 to 5 and also when I started the business. So this is, in my opinion, also one of the most important skills that you need. Dare I say it's the most important skill to get you to transition from 9 to 5 to an entrepreneur. And by skill, I mean like hard skill, not a soft skill, right? So I'm not talking about like courage or those things. I'm just talking about like a hard skill specifically. It would be business translation. Extremely important. You need to understand the technical and the non-technical world and also how to communicate between them, okay? If you want me to dive into this in deeper videos, I can, let me know. In later videos, that is. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about strategy. We're gonna keep it short. Let me refresh to make sure we got no more comments. Perfect. So I believe we are still growing. Let me check last 7 days. Yeah, we're still growing in the last 7 days. You can see over here, we picked up a little bit the day before yesterday. We were sitting at 200, but we're going higher and higher. Our most recent video did not too bad. But of course, thumbnails also got to improve, as well as our packaging in general, but one step at a time. There's really not much else in terms of updates. The short film was uploaded on the main channel, so you guys can check that out if you want. And I believe that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys have any questions, as always, just drop it down in the comments below, and I will see you later.